Well, unfortunately, the Minnesota sports curse is back. And in a game that is known as the Adrian Heath Derby, and in a game that you can maybe also say it's the battle of the Cinderella story, it's Orlando City that is able to continue their Cinderella story into the final. And for the very first time, they won an Adrian Heath Derby. And for Minnesota, unfortunately, after defying all logic and that define what the media is calling them the underdog team, and the fact that despite the fact that they have defied the injuries that was kind of piling up to this team and were still able to win, those kind of logic unfortunately caught up to this team, and that this is kind of maybe one of the reasons why they weren't able to pull off a win and make it to the final in this tournament. Now, the game was actually delayed 80 minutes because of a lightning delay, which hence that's why I am recording this when it's actually dark outside, and I do apologize if there's a little bit glare right here on the left side of the board because it actually comes from the ceiling lighting on my ceiling here. Metanier actually started on the bench for Minnesota in this game, while Chris Mueller actually was in the starting 11 for Orlando City in this game, despite the fact that he suffered that injury in the last game. And I was definitely surprised to see Chris Mueller in the starting 11 because after that injury that he suffered in the last game that he had to be subbed out, I thought there was pretty much no chance that he can actually be with this team, let alone be in the starting 11. But it seemed like he has miraculously healed that injury that he suffered in the last game, and he was ready enough to be in the starting 11. Although it was pretty clear that seeing him play throughout this game, he definitely didn't make as big as an impact as he has done throughout this tournament for Orlando City, and something tells me that injury probably bothers him. But the good news for him is that the attention will definitely be on him. The fact that he didn't play very well because his team, of course, eventually won. And there was another guy that has made a big impact for Orlando City throughout this tournament, and he made a big impact in this game, and ultimately was probably one of the main reasons why Orlando City won this game. Now, in the first half, I thought the Loons, they were once again on the front foot, and I was kind of surprised the fact they were on the front foot and they was trying to press a little bit, because while they tried to do this against the Quakes in the last game, I thought they were only going to do this when they play against the Quakes, because it seemed like the last four times when the Loons play against the Quakes, Adrian Heath always tends to like to blitz the Quakes early so that they can get some advantage. But against any other team, that's not how the Loons usually play, and that I'm kind of surprised that Adrian Heath decided to stick with that same tactical kind of maneuver in this game, and that they decided to try to go on the front foot and maybe get an early goal. But at the same time, I thought Orlando looked dangerous on the attack, and as the first half went on, the pressing that Minnesota did, I didn't think they did a really good job at it, and that there were times where when Orlando City was able to get through that press, it opens a gaping hole in the Minnesota own half. And when you decided to give Orlando City a gaping hole to operate in the opposition half, like, that is pretty much a dream scenario for Orlando City, and probably a dream scenario for Oscar Pereira, seeing his team allowing that much space to operate, because throughout this tournament of how much of the beautiful soccer that Orlando City has played, you cannot allow them to have that much space to just kind of pass the ball around and do whatever they want to do. Now, the good news is, for pretty much the first 30 minutes of this first half, despite the fact that Orlando City had a lot of room to operate when they get through the Minnesota press, they weren't able to find that crucial final ball. And in fact, both teams was actually very poor in terms of the final third. But eventually, Orlando City did find that final ball, and it came in the 35th minute when Nani, who, as I mentioned before, there was another guy that was able to make a big impact for Orlando City in this game, and that he's been making a big impact to this team throughout this tournament. That guy, of course, is Nani, who, of course, scores from Janssen after Janssen put a great pass, but even a better first touch from Nani to get away from Hassani Dotson. I thought Dotson, at first I feel like he probably could have done a little bit better, because anytime when you're a defender and you get beat like that and allow an attacker to score on you, you're always going to be at the center of attention in terms of the reason why you allowed that goal. But on a closer inspection, I just feel like that was just kind of a world-class move that Nani did, and he kind of turned the clock back a little bit with the way that he was able to complete that move. But, obviously, again, Dotson, maybe he could have done a little bit better in this instant. Now, the next goal, I feel like Minnesota could have definitely done better, and that the defense was definitely really at fault at this goal. Because 9 minutes later, Nani would score again from Mendes, and, while this is a great finish from Nani, and I definitely tip a cap off of him with the way that he was able to curl that one from 20 yards out, how on earth did we not decide to close him down? And how on earth we decided to let him take a pot shot like that to try to hit into the back of the net? Because when you decided to do that, he's obviously going to shoot, and most likely he's going to find the back of the net when that happens. So the inability of closing down for Minnesota is one of the biggest reasons why this goal happened, and that if they would have closed him down, or at least put a body in front of him and blocked that shot, that goal probably wouldn't have happened, and that we probably wouldn't see one of the best goals that is scored throughout this tournament. Now, the other thing that was also frustrating about that goal is that it literally came right on the stroke of halftime. And I knew as we went 1-0 down, it looked like the team were going through the motion and that they were definitely second best. And I was really hoping we can keep this game at 1-0 and head to halftime, make some adjustment. Adrian Heath might be rallying up his troop to do better in the second half, so we can of course chase the game and eventually get the equalizer. But now we're 2-0 down heading into the second half. Yeah, my hopes of them coming back definitely took a huge drop, the fact that when this second goal went in. And that Minnesota, I know throughout this tournament, they already shown in that Kansas City game that they were able to come back and eventually win it. But the problem is, that was at 1-0. This is at 2-0, and they were facing against an Orlando City team that this is not the Orlando City of old. I mean, one thing we've seen throughout this tournament for Orlando City is that this team is unrecognizable of the past Orlando City team. And a lot of that has to credit of what Oscar Pereira has done to this team, where he has just completely changed the culture and the identity of this team. And whatever he has changed and whatever identity he has implemented, this team clearly has made this team look like one of the most dangerous team in this tournament right now. So that's why I was really thinking that the only way Minnesota is going to come back from this game is that they really need a miracle in the second half, and that they really need to bring out all the artillery in the second half to basically get these 2 goals to overcome this 2-0 deficit. And I thought they were going to probably do that at halftime, and that Heath was going to substitute a bunch of attackers into it, but they didn't do that, and that the Loons, they continued to try to push on. But again, Orlando, they were doing a very good job in terms of defending, and they were being very disciplined on that. And it just gets to a point where I was pretty much screaming on the TV and telling Adrian Heath, bring Kevin Molino on. Like, seriously, why in the world did he decide not to bring him on at halftime and just bring in some attacking pieces on the bench that can make an impact to this team? Because we've seen it in the past couple of games. When he bring on those attacking pieces on, it makes a huge impact and almost give new life in terms of this attack. Now, thankfully, as soon as I wrote that down on the board, 1 minute later, Adrian Heath did make that triple substitution and bring in some of the substitute to attack to freshen up things. He brought on Mason Toy, Kevin Molino, and also I believe Aaron Phil also came into this game. And later on, he would actually bring on Raheem Edwards too. And you can clearly see, as soon as he brought those players on, this team looked much more dangerous going forward on the attack. Now, the other thing that I also want to mention in this game is that it seemed like the referee forgot his yellow cards in this game. Because, believe it or not, there was 0 yellow cards that was handed out in this game. And there probably should have been one in the 57th minute when Juan basically got away with probably one of the most blatant handball you could get away with, and a yellow to potentially stop a potential attack for Minnesota. And the fact that that was not given a yellow card is kind of really shocking. And I feel like as we continue to go on, and the referee just kind of blow the whistle on some of the foul, but not giving the players the yellow cards, something tells me things are going to get chippy, and that players know that the referee is not going to give them a caution, so they're just going to continue to foul player, and that eventually when that happens, things are going to boil over. And it did in the 72nd minute when things really boiled over between both of these teams, and that they were really barking at each other. Although you could maybe say that might has to do with the frustration of Minnesota, knowing that they are of course chasing the game and that they're frustrated the fact that they haven't been able to get the goal. But what's even more alarming is that during that chippiness, no yellow card was handed out. Like, I've seen times when both teams gets in each other's faces and there was pushing and shoving, the referee is going to immediately hand out a yellow card. So the fact that there was no yellow card that was shown during that chippiness basically just tells me that, yeah, we're not going to get a yellow card in this game. This is going to be the first game in a long time that the referee is not going to hand a yellow card, because it seemed like he forgot that you can use that little yellow card of him in his pocket, or maybe he just forgot his yellow cards at the hotel when this delay, of course, has happened. Now, after that incident, the Loons really started to push to get that goal back, to get back into this game, and Galese actually had to rob Raheem Edwards after he made a spectacular free kick from 23 yards out. If that would have gone in, that would really challenge Nani goal in the 44th minute as what is actually the best goal of this game, let alone during this tournament. And again, the Loons was really pushing forward, but at the same time, I feel like maybe is it a little bit too late, because there was 10 minutes left and they still have to overcome that 2-0 deficit. But they did give themselves some life 3 minutes later there, after I kind of wrote that down in the 80th minute, because Mason Toye scores from Kevin Molino to give the Loons a goal back and closing within one in this game. But I also thought that maybe that goal shouldn't have counted, because it definitely looked like Mason Toye was in an offside position. And I have to go back to yesterday in that game between the Timbers and the Union, and remember how that Shabilko goal was, of course, called offside, and that I feel like that one probably shouldn't have been offside, and that they probably should have gave a closer look. Well, in this game, when you compare that call to the one today with Mason Toye being in an offside position, it looked like the Mason Toye one was more blatant and more clear that he was in an offside position compared to what Shabilko was in yesterday's game. But just like yesterday game, they took a quick glance at the VAR monitor, but they didn't say anything to overrule that call or anything clear and obvious to overrule that call. And that, again, the Loons got very lucky in terms of getting a goal back. And I'm pretty sure Orlando City fans are not going to be happy with that, and they feel like it's going to happen, that they are going to do what they used to always do, which is blow a lead late in the game. But thankfully, that did not happen, because, again, this is an Orlando City team that is completely unrecognizable from previous year, and that they eventually did kind of something similar to what the Timbers did in the last 5 minutes of that game against the Union, which is try to become back in defense and try to survive these last 5 minutes. But unlike the Timbers, they actually did get a late goal late in the game. And if you want to kind of do me to give you some hockey reference, this goal that Benji Michel scored from Urso and Nani pretty much is an empty net for Orlando City. Like, Minnesota was really pushing everybody up for this set piece, and the fact that the Loons gave the ball away and that Orlando City played through to Michel, who was one-on-one with Tyler Miller, that it wasn't even on his lines doing this instant. I knew for sure that is going to be 3-1. And before Michel actually put this one away, I literally put the 3 on Orlando's City name, because I knew that was the third goal, and that was pretty much game, set, and match. So yeah, there you have it. That is pretty much the summary of this game, as Orlando City was able to win 3-1 against Minnesota. Shots in this game, Minnesota had 17 shots compared to 7 that Orlando City had. 3 shots on goal compared to 4 that Orlando City has. 3 shots off target compared to 8 that Minnesota has. No shots that was blocked compared to I believe 6 for Minnesota in terms of the block shot. Yeah, I did a very bad writing of the number 6 there in terms of the block shot. But the possession-wise, it was dead even between both of these teams, and that it seemed like the Loons just become Orlando City in this game, or shall I say the old Orlando City side in this game, because despite the fact that they had a lot of chances in this game, especially later in this game, they weren't able to be very clinical, and that was what hurt Orlando City before this team completely changes heading into this tournament. And that, for the Loons, as much as I know this is a frustrating game, and a game that I feel like in some way they kind of looked like they were the better team, and that they would have been a little bit more clinical in terms of the finishing, this game could have been a whole different story. I'm still very proud of how the Loons have got to this stage, and you got to keep in mind, this is clearly not the strongest Minnesota team. This team is going to get stronger when the season is going to continue, once this tournament is over, because got to keep in mind, we had no Iko Para in this game, we had no Roman Metanier in this game, and we saw what Molino did late in this game, where he probably could do this for the full 90 minutes if he was completely fit. And let's also not to mention that we also have some signings that is coming. Debasi, that Amiens defender that we've been linked with, we actually officially signed him today, and that he's going to join our team after this tournament is over, so that should add some more depth in terms of the defense. And also, I heard the Emmanuel Reynoso deal is getting very close to being done, and that there should be an announcement made during Monday and Tuesday. So, yeah, I mean, things are going to look good for Minnesota once this tournament is over, and I still believe that, with some of these reinforcement that we can have, and if this is kind of the way that we, of course, can play, I definitely will be I wouldn't say optimistic, but I'll be cautiously optimistic that this Loons team can once again go into the playoffs and make a deep run in the playoffs with all those pieces that they have. Now, for Orlando City, again, this is just a team that I just don't even recognize anymore. And as I said before with this team, a lot of credit has to go with Oscar Pereira and what he has done. And if Orlando City does win this tournament, which the way that they've been playing, it looked like they might be destined to actually win the whole tournament. But if they, of course, do that, and Oscar Pereira is able to guide this team to their first ever trophy, something tells me that Orlando City fans are going to praise Oscar Pereira to the rest of their life, and that they might even think about building a statue in front of him with the way that he has just dramatically changed this team. Like, he literally just came into this team this season, and that a lot of people didn't expect he was going to just make some overhaul changes that can immediately work out with this team, kind of like in an overnight hour like this, but seemed like he did exactly that, and now this team is on verge to play against the Portland Timbers, and that they look like they are destined to potentially win their first ever trophy in their franchise history. But yeah, there you have it. That is pretty much it for this review. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of this game? I know we're going to have a 5-day gap between now to the final, which means that once again I'm going to have to find a way to make a couple of those filler video so that I can of course still release video before I actually do the preview of the final on August 10th, just one day before the final of this tournament is gonna come. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash that subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.